the Demolition event, but that doesn't sound very nice. And so we've been calling it the kickoff event. And I want to start by thanking Jason's Deli. They did a really nice job of bringing us food here. Thank him. They are part of this Metro District family. We are pleased to join this family, and they are the sponsor of this event by bringing this food. And they wanted me to mention, for any of you that are up in this area, that kids eat free on Monday evenings from 4 to 8. So bring your kids to Jason's Deli. Okay, I want to start by recognizing Councilwoman Ann O'Brien, who's been our stalwart champion for this project from day one. Terrific, terrific woman. Can we give her a hand? She will be making some remarks and a very important announcement a little bit later following me. The mayor wanted very badly to be here, but she's out of the country, and she could not fly back in just for this event, even though she wanted to. But Mayor Gallego was very instrumental in helping us get. I know some of her staff is here. This was a very big day for her also. So city management has played a huge role. I think a lot of you know that we are a city manager form of government here in the city of Phoenix, and they play a insurmountable sort of in a lot of these issues that we had to overcome. City Manager Jeff Barton is here today. Please give him a hand. Okay. We also have Deputy City Manager Alan Stevenson. John Chan, Deputy City Manager, is also here today. I know that Ginger Spencer, Deputy, is also here. Thank you, Ginger. And I know that Mario and a few others were hoping to attend, but having multiple city attorney, city manager, and deputy city managers means that this project is very, very important to the city. So thank them very much for attending. So we also had deputy city attorneys wanting to attend. Now, we had 3 city attorneys work on this project: Derek, Danny, and James. Look, oftentimes it's difficult to work across the table. We had many, many agreements on this project. We had to morph this project several times over the last 3 years. But they were, again, very, very helpful in this project. Sometimes they can't get away from their desks because they have so much work from the city, but I want you to help me and thank them even if they could not be here today. Please. Valley Metro CEO Jessica Miller is here. Thank you. We have a $150 million light rail station that she built just for us, I think. But thank you for all your help in this project. I'd like to thank the police department of the city of Phoenix, because this project, we could not do it without their help. So thank them also, please. All right, now I'd like to go through some of the folks that we could not do this project without, because they are our partners in this project. First, I'd like to thank the folks who are leading this project, our chairman and our CEO, Steve and Nate Serang. For those of you who don't know Concord Wilshire, you can kind of go back and look them up and look at their projects they've accomplished. It's really a terrific firm. They work really all across the country, and we were lucky enough to get them here on this project. And so TLG, Lee Pillsbury and Chris Niederbing, again, instrumental on this project from day one. One of our partners in the project. Thank them, please. CDS Holdings, Stuart and Jack Cap. Thank you. Fuse Holdings was our partner in this recently, just in the last several months, came to the table with our financing to allow us to get to the point we are here today. And we have Ael Perez here. Thank you, Ael. I knew I was going to mess that up. Sorry about that. And then last but not least, from the very, very beginning on this project, we sort of partnered up with our development partner at Hines. Hines is one of the largest commercial developers in the country, and we have with us Chris Anderson here today. So as you can tell, we have a bit of a dream team in terms of our development partners. You'll hear from some of our development team here also today. But from the city, I'd like to now introduce Councilwoman Ann O'Brien, who, again, I mentioned this earlier, we could not have done this without her. So.
Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me to be here with you. Metro Center was more than just a shopping mall. It was the place where birthdays were celebrated, where family traditions began and continued for years, where friendships were made and grew, where parties started and ended, especially at the midnight movies, and where many people worked and created livelihoods. It has for decades been a hub for Phoenix bus transportation. I have so many memories of Metro Center, so if you could indulge me for just a second. They include ice skating, ice cream at Farrell's, lunches at the airplane restaurant. Yes, it really did look like an airplane. Black Friday Christmas shopping with my mom and my Aunt Kathy, sitting on Santa's lap, and even my daughter got to sit on the Metro Center Santa's lap. One of my first jobs was here selling pantyhose, which I'm pretty sure not many women wear anymore. I ate my first Chick-fil-A French fries, and if you know anything about me, I usually have a Chick-fil-A iced tea in my hand. We all cruised around the loop with friends, and I did that until I heard the fire engine coming, because that meant my dad was on his way to help someone, and I wasn't really supposed to be here. So if you'd not share my secret with him, I would appreciate that. I know I'm not alone in having many wonderful memories of Metro Center. In fact, over 10,000 people came to share their memories and bid a fond farewell to Metro Center in May of 2023. It was an amazing event with community members from really all over the region coming together. And while I'll always remember Metro Center as part of the foundation of my childhood and teen years, it is time to make this area the crown jewel it once was. So again, kids, families, and community members may create new memories and traditions, celebrate milestones, and create their perfect lifestyle. This project was not for the faint of heart and could not have happened without all the incredible companies here, as well as their leaders. I'd like to again, I know Steve thanked a lot of people, but I just want to again give kudos to Mayor Gallego, my fellow council members, our city manager, Jeff Barton, as well as our deputy city managers. And of course, I can't forget about the tenacious and determined champion that is Christine Mackey, our Director of Community and Economic Development. So I was fortunate enough to say that it is my honor and privilege to announce the name of what many families, businesses, and communities have been waiting years for: the rebirth of an integral part of Phoenix and the surrounding communities. Today, I am thrilled to introduce you all to the Metropolitan. The Metropolitan is an elegant name that acknowledges the legacy of Metro Center while demonstrating that this new development is building something unique and elevated yet accessible to all. The name Metropolitan means urban sophistication, which will be the new civic center that will become the beating heart of a new community. This will be a place full of energy where all can live vibrantly. If you can turn your attention to the O logo, which is a critical part of the visual and verbal language we are seeking to bring to life, and references the physical loop road, which is an integral part of the development that I, as well as many others, have so fond memories of in my youth cruising the Loop Road. The Metropolitan, your life made better. The Metropolitan will be the Valley's largest transit-oriented development with over 1,000 townhome residences, with an array of price points and finishes to accommodate any resident at any stage of their life. It was so important to me that this community be a place where our young adults could get their starter home, where our local school teachers and nurses could live in the community that they serve, and where our parents, whose chicks have flown the coop, may downsize. The retail will be culinary and entertainment driven, with a public parking garage and a programmed park plaza that will host music events, movie nights, holiday festivals, and a seasonal weekly farmers market. As I close out my comments, I want to make a special acknowledgement to the woman who bore through the dreamers with unrealistic ideas for this area for years before I had the pleasure of working with folks like Chris Hines, Steve Sarang, and Steve Betts, former mayor and councilwoman Thelda Williams. And although she's not here with us today for this celebration, how fitting is it that the Thelda Williams Transit Center will be the lifeline to the future development. Thank you all so much for coming out, and now I'd like to turn it over to Jason Peloja, the RSP architect, who will show us some views of what's to come at the Metropolitan.
Thank you, Councilwoman O'Brien. Excited to share some of the design progress today. When Metro Center originally was built, it brought new energy and excitement to the valley. It was a catalyst for new development, supporting growth west of the I-17. As the valley has expanded, we now stand at the epicenter of the Metropolitan. It will serve as a new catalyst for redevelopment and investment into the valley, creating a destination for all, but for many, a new home. Replay. Here we go. The newly constructed light rail will serve as a critical link to downtown and beyond to the East Valley. This strong pedestrian connection, as you see, we're descending down right above here, moving into the center of the development. This pedestrian connection from the light rail will act as a new gateway into the project. This pathway will be activated with restaurants, retail, art, and signage. The desert landscape and park space that you'll see just in a minute is at the forefront of the energy and activation along the pathways, while the architecture becomes a backdrop for the energy. You can see we're now passing by the 28th Drive alignment, which is the north-south axial connection from the retail out along Peoria, south to Dunlap and beyond to the canal. We're now turning additionally along that vehicular axis, there's the primary vehicular access into the parking garage. Atop the parking garage is a pool, pickleball, restaurant, retail, event space, and overlooks the main plaza and park. As we descend now from the rooftop amenity, which will be a community amenity for the overall development, you'll see we drop down into the strong pedestrian connection from the garage through the retail to the park. Along this pedestrian connection, there's a mix of desert landscape, turf, and splash pads for families. As the retail now sort of opens up to Sherrill Drive, the main park space and amphitheater is accented with a stage and transforms from day to night to host concerts and movie nights. The overall planning strategy is set up to create connections and sort of turn what once was a sea of parking, fields of parking, and large hard walls. We're sort of turning them all inside out, creating vehicular permeability through the site, as well as activating all the streetscape with residential that fronts the streets and walkable community throughout. There's 3 distinct zones, Terra, Luna, and Brava, 3 residential communities that each have their own identity and sense of place and vehicular access and entry, but also strong pedestrian connections that connect back to the heart of the development. So as you see in the center, that's the retail village core, parking garage rising up, Walmart to the south, and this vehicular connection and pedestrian connection runs throughout the overall development. Right at the heart, we're sort of wrapping the retail around the existing self-storage, creating that park and the sense of destination and place. The first community is Terra Court, and the architectural style throughout the entire development takes cues from Metro Center's mid-century modern forms, but leans forward with a softness and additional articulation and contrast. This is the entry-level product. There are 3. Terra Court is the lower entry level. As you progress up to Luna, the units get larger, as well as additional articulation, shaded patios. And as you progress into Brava, the units are additionally embellished with architectural treatment, upgraded finishes, and larger floor plans, and an expanded amenity package. I'd like to extend some thanks to our entire design and development team, but specifically I'd like to highlight Dig Studio, EPS, and Co-op. And in particular, I'd like to call out Jake Vacek, maybe here somewhere, but he's my right hand on the design team, and I can't thank him enough for the thousands of hours of late nights and weekends working through design concepts, modeling, rendering, to be able to bring this visualization to share with you today. Our next guest, I met over 10 years ago working with Chris Anderson on a challenging redevelopment project in the East Valley adjacent to another mall. She needs no introduction, but her passion and commitment to the Valley's economic success is relentless. Please help me welcome Chris Mackey.
So I am not obviously Chris Mackey, but for those of you who heard my introduction, you might say, I left off somebody very, very important in Chris. But I actually left off one of our partners also, Carlisle. Many of you maybe know that, that Carlisle worked with the city for pretty much a decade on this with Chris and her team. And ultimately, sort of looking at the vision for what the city wanted out of this project, working then with Steve and with Concord Wilshire, we came up with this concept for the urban village. And so I do want to recognize Carlisle Group and John Naisman, who's here with us today as the chairman of Concord Group. Please acknowledge him. He is still a part of our development team today, and John and his team working with Chris over the years, and then Chris working with us for the last 3 years, she has been, I like to refer to as a dog with a bone, in terms of what she wanted, what the city wanted out of this project, but also working it through the staff, getting us sort of through some of the hurdles that we had. Chris and Jeff Stapleton, who's also here today, are really our supporters on this project, our partner in this project. So I'd like to bring Chris up today.
Good morning, or good afternoon, I guess. So excited to be here with you today and to look at this next life of what Metro Center is going to become, now the Metropolitan is going to become. You know, I think back to when Metro Center first broke ground. You look at the freeway that's just to the east of us here. It was only a 7-year-old freeway at the time that Metro Center broke ground. The population of Phoenix was only 700,000 people, and the population of the state of Arizona was only 1.7 million people. And look at where we've grown to today with her being here. I look at the I-17 corridor and where we're going with our job creation, with, you know, Metro Center really acts as kind of that connectivity between the southern part of the city and the northern part of the city, and the growth to the northern part of the city moving forward with major advanced manufacturing and technologically advanced companies. You can see in the future, this will be the location where they come to celebrate and entertain, Councilman, much like you talked about we did when we were kids. So if you think about, I think about when I was a kid, so just like the councilwoman, I worked here. This is where I did some back to school shopping. I remember ice skating. We used to drive my mom crazy. So my mom was the operations manager for Goldwater, so she got to open Metro Center. And what I'll share with you, that there is a picture that is coming up in just a moment. It is the initial kind of the opening of Metro, the kickoff of Metro Center. This was in 1972. This photo was taken. The interesting thing is this property had to be brought in out of an unincorporated area of Maricopa County into the city of Phoenix to pull building permits. That's when you think about the time that's gone on in this activity. But my mom got to work for Goldwater's, which became Robinson's May, which became Macy's, that you see here today. How many in the room had a yellow credit card from Goldwater's? At least there's a few of us that did. That shows you the distance that moves in that area. And if you'd move on to the next slide, we look at kind of we look at the 1980s with Metro Center, and with it opening in 1973, it was the largest capital and commercial investment in the state's history at that time at $21 million. And it opened a great fanfare in 1973 at 1.4 million square feet under roof. It was the largest mall west of the Mississippi when it opened in 1973. It opened with 5 anchors, also the only mall to open with 5 anchors at that time. Really, the heyday of Metro Center, it was in the 1980s. I'm pretty sure if you zoom in close enough, you'd be able to find me in one of these pictures, because we spent a lot of time there. I was a Farrell's ice cream parlor waitress. So for those of you that remember Farrell's, again, I'll tell you a quick story about my mom. And people that work with me today will absolutely not believe this story. I was an incredibly shy child. I couldn't talk to anyone. I looked at my feet when I talked to people. I much preferred to be by myself than I did with anyone else. So my mom made me get the job at Farrell's ice cream parlor to help to draw me out of my shell. The people that work with me in the audience today are now thinking, I wish they'd left her in the shell. Didn't have to deal with her moving forward, but they do. And it was incredible. As the councilwoman shared, and John Chan, deputy city manager, he worked at Sears. I was a Farrell's ice cream parlor waitress, and councilwoman was Park Lane Hosiery. So you can imagine how much this mall means to us, and all of the memories of back to school shopping and Black Friday shopping, as councilwoman said, and ice skating. And more importantly, if Alan Stevenson is here, one of our deputy city managers, cruising. John and I we're old enough, we started cruising on Central. When they closed Central, we had to move out to Metro Center. And as the councilman said, you'd cruise the loop until you got in trouble for passing by the same spot too many times, and then we'd all go home. If we go on to the next slide, you'll see, again, just those pictures of Metro Center. Someone asked me once when we were talking about demolishing it, they wondered if there wasn't a company in Phoenix that could recreate the smell of the ice in Metro Center. It had this really distinctive smell that we all absolutely loved. And if you're here in the audience today, I'm working on it with a small tech company that's in Galvanize, so I'll get back to you on that one. If we go on to the next, Again, just the celebration. You had a Ferris wheel inside the mall. You had roller coasters inside the mall. You had all these great events, and you would just get dropped off. This wasn't a time when it is like it is today, where your parents are eagle eye and helicoptering over the top of you. We'd whine at our parents to get dropped off here and spend the entire day at Metro Center. And as we move forward, Metro Center really made its name as the starring backdrop in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which was a story of kids and the high school was in Scottsdale as well that it was filmed at, but it was a story of two guys who screwed up their history paper, had to not get failed out of school, and traveled in a phone booth back in time to be able to learn all of these different things and bring all of these characters forward from history moving forward. It was Keanu Reeves, Kickoff, and then Alex Winter was with him also. I'll also share with you that the City of Phoenix, I am fortunate enough that the film commissioner is under Community and Economic Development, and the City of Phoenix Community and Economic Development Department, the film commissioner, issued the permits for this film that was filmed here. Many of its scenes in Metro Center, Circle K in Tempe, a high school in Scottsdale, which was an incredible amount of fun. But I also think about the rich history of Metro Center, the jobs that were created here, the construction jobs, the permanent ongoing retail jobs, the management jobs, the economic impact that this facility created. But more importantly, the connections and the activity, new business startups, the things that happened at this location. So when I think about having been here as a child at the groundbreaking of Metro, the original Metro Center, I now get to be part of the vision that creates the new iconic Metropolitan. And I'd really like to thank Mr. Steve Sarang. I'm going to tell you another quick funny story. So as was talked about, I had the pleasure of working on another project's demolition in the East Valley. On my birthday in August 14th of 2014, Chris Anderson and I were in a city council chambers, his birthday as well. We're in a city council chambers to get that zoning through. It was my last night in that East Valley city before I came to Phoenix. I came to Phoenix and immediately called Chris, driving home from work one day, and I said, hey, Chris, we did this really hard project together. What do you think about doing Metro Center with me? Chris immediately asked me if I drank at work. Yep, he said life was too short for Metro Center. He had his hands full with Viridian, and he couldn't help us here. So our team and I spent the next years, I think about 8 years, going through different developers. So they were all mouth, no trousers. They could do this incredible project if we just give them $1 billion. They wanted to level it and put up residential. They wanted to save them all and turn it into a distribution center. Nothing that fit the revitalization or redevelopment plans that the city had. And then in 2020, Mr. Steve Sarang walked into a conference room with Jeff Stapleton and I and laid out his vision of what Metro Center should be. And when he left, I turned to Jeff and I said, we just met the redeveloper of Metro Center. And Mr. Sarang, your vision, your fortitude, you've been through so much with us to make this project move forward. There is nothing we can ever do, the councilwoman and I can ever do, to thank you for your vision, for your determination, for your flexibility, for your ability to pivot when everything was thrown at us humanly possible to deliver this incredible project. So what I will share with you is that it kind of makes it kind of fun that Chris Anderson was the first developer I called, and Mr. Sarang, in partnership with Chris Anderson, was the 26th developer that we called to do Metro Center. So please join me in thanking them. And also, Councilman O'Brien mentioned Councilwoman Thelda Williams, who was here with us and is no longer with us. She had such a vision for what Metro Center could be. And I remember when the councilwoman and I got to take her out to lunch right across the street and tell her about this incredible project. She was a huge champion for her district and for the revitalization of Metro Center. And that torch got passed to Councilwoman Ann O'Brien. She has had, again, she's been with us through this entire time. She's stuck with us through challenging projects. Every time I go into her room, I have something new to tell you. And she'd help me work through and come up with solutions of how we were going to move this forward. The mayor and the city council stuck with us through all these crazy ideas as to how to revitalize these old malls. So again, cannot thank Councilwoman Ann O'Brien, the mayor and city council for the work here. And if you indulge me, I'd like to recognize a few other people in the room. Tom Stack was our city attorney who sat in rooms with us and Diane Howler to work through all of the challenges. As you can imagine, the incredibly complicated project. Tom has since gone on to work for someone else, but we said there was no way we could kick off the Demolition Metro Center unless Tom was here with us today, and he graced us with his appearance today. Eric Froberg, our city engineer, who has to teach me, if you can imagine, what Title 34 is and how we can move forward. Eric's been with us since the very, very beginning of this project. Jeff Stapleton, who's really led this project as project manager in taking us to where we're at today. I come up with all the ideas and say this is what we should have that happens, but he's actually where the rubber meets the pavement and executes on everything we do. Zanon Keating oversees the Community Development Department. Assistant Chief Kreis, had to call him through, I can't tell you how many fire issues that we had that needed to work through to get this done. Alan Stevenson, at the time, was our planning director, now our deputy city manager, who helped us work this through. Mark Edelman with the State Land Department, who wrote an incredible piece for a community magazine about the redevelopment and revitalization of Metro Center and brought all kinds of great new ideas and things forward. So I'm going to forget someone, so I'm going to apologize for that. But I do want to thank from the bottom of my heart the person who lets us do all of these. I come to him with these crazy ideas, and he looks at me like I have 6 heads, but he gives his team the ability to move forward, the ability to be creative, the ability to stand out on a ledge with people sawing behind him, but he's always got a rope around our waist just to yank us back right before we go over, and that's our city manager, Jeff Barton. So in closing, I would like to leave you with the words of Sigmund Freud from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure as we move forward with this incredible project. There is a lot of work before us. Things are going to be hard, and we're going to work on them and solve them together. So as Sigmund Freud said, be most excellent to each other and party on, dudes. Almost forgot I'm supposed to introduce someone. But before I do, Councilwoman, your very own copy of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I'm going to make her watch it with me over Christmas. It's one of my favorites. And now I would like to introduce the CEO of Diversified Partners, Walt Brown.
I think she's more like an octopus. 8 arms, all successful in achieving things, versus 6 heads of thinking about it. So, I was sitting up here just really taking a look around this room. And what I think we all need to do is take one moment and just look at the power and the strength in this room. In redevelopment and development, this is not easy. And it takes an army. It takes vision. It takes discipline. It takes hard work. It takes an investment team that stays the course, because you come up with a lot of things and a lot of reasons to step back. And this team that I'm looking at right here is absolutely assembled something that, as a Phoenician, I am so proud. And what I would like to be the first to say is, Metro Mall, no more. The Metropolitan. Think of that word. Think of what you think of when you experience that word. Think of the cities and all the greatness and all the fun times that you've had, and put that at our project here. We have been fortunate enough to shepherd the project's retail. And what we're going to bring to you will be the only place in the state of Arizona. And I want to talk a little bit about it, but I think, John, I think we should unveil the name of the retail element that will not only be interactive, it will be exciting, it will be the destination place that you will want to go with your mom, your dad, your children, your brothers, your sisters, that you know will make a difference. So with that said, I introduce to you the Loop, the retail at the Metropolitan. When you think of the Loop, you have to think of a place that you want to go. In this unique project, you have the transit that is an X factor to retail. You have the density, and density is what makes a retail project successful. You have an ownership's mindset, and I say that to all of you, and Steve, you and Terry and Nate and their entire team, you guys have worked so hard at this, and your passion is second to none. I've done a lot of square footage in the United States, and I've never seen it, and I'm proud to be your partner. Very proud. It's a great place to be in. But when you think of the Loop, you think of a place that your family wants to go. You want to go to find the right restaurant, whether it be something high-end with your wife on date night, or your children, if you need a service item to be able to service. But what makes a difference at the Loop is you've got transit. You've got 1,100 homes that are all walkable, that have the opportunity to go have a glass of wine, turn around and walk right home safe. Because it's not only, this is a major task to redevelop a project like this, but then you got to run it properly. You got to manage it properly. You got to make sure it's safe. You got to make sure it's got the right lighting. And I think that you guys have done an amazing job. So on behalf of Diversified Partners and my team, we are honored to be your partner. We're excited to be here, and just take 1 second and look around at everybody in this room, because this is going to be an amazing project that everybody will be proud of, the Metropolitan.
I have to lower the mic a little bit for my Walt. Thank you, Walt. And it is really a dream team around this project. And I left off one name, somebody I had not met before, and I didn't realize that, Bill, you were here. But we do have the president of CDS Holdings, Bill Milmo, here also. So thank you, Bill, for coming. All right, I'm going to just wrap this up very quickly for all of you. But we really have sort of 5 points we want to make to all of you, and hopefully you've picked up on these as we went forward. But this project, with Steve's leadership, fulfills the vision that the city and this village, this urban village up here, had for what they wanted to have happen to the mall as it was redeveloped. The urban village that came with the village plan before we even took a look at the property was to create a transit-oriented urban village of residential around an urban core, a core that's activated. And that's really, it was kind of amazing in a way, and Chris talked about this, that not only was that Steve and Nate's vision for this property, but that was the city's vision. And so merging these two visions together is really the key to this project. The second is providing quality, reasonably priced housing options, both for rent and for sale. And that's something that really has just started to happen over the last year or so as we've been exploring this project. And I think, as you heard a little bit about the planning for this, that we are now exploring for sale townhouse product here, so that young professionals and young families can have an urban housing product that might allow them to work either up the Black Canyon corridor with the jobs where Chris and her team are starting to create all these jobs there, or in the center city by using light rail. So this transit-oriented project gives us the ability to create this reasonably priced housing around this urban core. Creating a safe and attractive town center, and you heard about this a little bit from Walt, that having a town center that will bring people to this, that has retail amenities and programming to the center. Park, plaza, including the rooftop amenity. That's going to be very unique, and we think we'll be able to provide something that has views, distant views around the whole western part of the city. And again, we think that will create real interest. So we'll have a park at the ground level and a park up on the top of the garage. And then last is long-term taxes to the city, property taxes, but also TBT, transaction privilege taxes. Once these amenities, once the public infrastructure is paid off, then we have that ability to drive to the city some long-term financial benefit. So those are really the 5 things we think we're bringing to the city with this project. We know we're excited about it, but we think our city friends are excited about it too, and hence that's why so many of our city partners are here with you today. So we're all going to be here. We're going to watch the kickoff of the demolition.